Okay, guys, we are here. Today, I'm recording a video that's going to focus on addition and subtraction with regrouping. So we're still just practicing our review skills, and this is where this video is for you if you were not able to attend your 9:30 math group. So this is kind of just going over what we would have went over on the live lesson. So what I want to start with first is just some basic addition and subtraction computation. So I'm going to start first by just writing down a subtraction problem. And I'm going to start pretty small. I'm going to do 100 minus, you see that? Let's turn that off. There we go. 67. So let's go ahead and let's look at this problem. One of the things that we talked about a lot in class is the phrase bigger, bottom, borrow. And what that means is I'm going to look in each place value, starting with the ones, moving on to the tens and the hundreds. And in each place value, I'm going to circle who's my bigger number. If I find that I have bigger numbers on the bottom, then that means I'm going to have to borrow, or all that means is regroup. Remember, borrow and regroup are the same term. Regrouping is more of the fancy vocabulary word. So in the ones, I have a bigger number on the bottom. In the tens, my 6 is bigger, so a bigger number on the bottom. And then here in the hundreds, since nothing's here, I know that's going to be a 0. And 1 is bigger than 0. So already I can see I've got 2 numbers on the bottom. I'm going to be borrowing. So the first thing I do is I say, okay, I'm in the ones place. I come to the tens. Well, I have nothing here to borrow from. So I'm going to come to my hundreds now. I'm going to take away 100. And if we remember, when we talk about those hundreds, we would draw those big squares and we would call them our 100 flat. When I take away that 100, I'm breaking it up. And if we remember, that 100 was made up of 10 of our 10 rods. So that means I'm giving 10 tens here. So that's where that 10 comes from. We broke up that 100, gave that 0, 10 of these. Now I can come to the tens place and take a 10 away. And that means I'm going to break up this 10 rod, and this 10 rod is made up of tens, ones, cubes. So here's my ones. So I'm breaking up the 10, and I'm giving 10 ones here. Now I have my bigger numbers on the top, and I can borrow. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 6 is 3. And 0 minus nothing is 0. Now we learned that we could actually use addition to also check a subtraction problem. And I use addition by taking this bottom number here and the difference. Remember, difference is the answer to the subtraction problem. And I'm going to add them together. Together, 67 and 33 should give me 100. If it does, I know I did my subtraction correctly. So I'm going to do 67 plus 33. So 7 plus 3 is 10. I carry over, and I get 6 plus 1 is 7, and 7 plus 3 again is 10. So yeah, I have a match. 100 here, 100 here. Now, I used a smaller number, a number that only went into the hundreds, and I used this one for practice because it had double zeros. When we're subtracting with so many zeros, sometimes we get a little bit confused. We're going to look at some word problems, and the word problems are going to have some numbers that go into the thousands place, but we're still going to use the same concept. Some will be subtraction and some will be addition, and these are all things that we've practiced. So let's look at some word problems. And I'm going to close my blinds to see if this helps a little bit with the glare. There we go. All right, so in my problem, it says Antonio, I'm trying to get this so we can see this a little better. Here we go. Antonio went to the store and bought 1,413 cherries. His family ate 239 of the cherries. How many cherries were left? Well, I'm going to start with the problem, and the first thing that I noticed is they bought 1,413 cherries. So I'm going to circle that. Now, they ate, so I know I'm getting rid of, because I'm eating, 239 of them. How many cherries were left? So this is where I'm going to come, and I know because it's asking me how many cherries were left, and I ate some, I'm going to be doing subtraction. So I'm looking for the difference. So I'm going to set up my problem of 1,403 subtract 239. And again, we want to remember bigger bottom bar. So I come and I circle all my bigger numbers first. In the ones place, I have a bigger number here. In the tens, the 3 is larger. In the hundreds, the 4 is up top. And I have a 1 here. I know a 0 is here is the placeholder. So the 1 would be larger in the thousands. Now I do have some bigger numbers on the bottom, so we are going to borrow. So first I start in the ones. I can't take away 9 from 3, so I go to my tens place. I'm going to take away 110, and I'm going to give 10 ones to the ones place. So now I can subtract. Sometimes we try to keep going ahead and get all of the numbers ready for regrouping, but I like to do one section at a time, subtract in the ones, then subtract in the tens to kind of take our time. So 13 minus 9 will give me 4. Now when I come here though, I have a 0 here. So I'm going to have to go next door to the hundreds, and I'm taking away that 100 and breaking it apart. And when I take 100 away, I get 3. And again, I'm giving 10 to the 0. So 10 plus 0 is 10. Now I can do 10 minus 3, which is 7. 3 minus 2, that's pretty easy, 1. And I bring my 1 down. So if I got my answer right, they should have had 1,704 or 1,174 cherries left. I'm going to come check my answer right over here by taking these two numbers, okay? What I subtracted, I'm going to take the difference, and I'm going to add them together. And they should give me this top number here. So 1,174 plus 239. Okay, so we've got 4 plus 9 gives me 13. Carry the 1. I know 7 plus 3 is 10. Plus 1 more is 11. Carry my 1. 1 and 1 makes 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. I carry and drop this down. And if I notice, these two match, which means my subtraction should be right. So let's look at another problem. Okay. The next problem says, on Monday, Michael scored 382 points on his video game. He scored 321 points on Tuesday and 129 points on Wednesday. How many points did Michael score on Monday and Wednesday? Now, I kind of like this question because they're giving us extra information that we don't need. The question is actually asking how many points did Michael score on Monday and Wednesday. So they only want to know about those 2 days. And if I look at the problem, on Monday, we scored 382. He scored 321 on Tuesday, but I don't need to know about Tuesday. So I just move on, and 129 points on Wednesday. So I'm really only adding 382 plus 129. Sometimes in problems they'll give you extra information. You've just got to pay attention to see what you need. So let's go ahead. If I'm wanting to know how much he scored on both, this time I'm combining 382 and 129. So let's go ahead and add those up. 382 plus 129. Okay, so I've got 2 plus 9, which is 11. And I carry over the 1. I'm going to make 10 here. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 more. So 11, and again I carry my 1. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. So my answer should be on both days, they scored 511 points. Now for the addition, I don't have to circle my bigger numbers, okay? That's only when we're subtracting. So you just have to pay attention. Am I adding or am I subtracting? And then just take your time with whatever operation you are using. We're going to do one more question together. And this worksheet, I will post it up on Classroom Dojo. Problem number 3, you'll be able to do, actually what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to do problem number 3 with you, and then you can be responsible for problem number 4. We'll talk about the problem together, and then I'll leave it for you to do on your own. Okay, so problem number 3 says, Nick drew 238 stars on his paper. Brooklyn drew 319 stars on her paper. How many stars did they draw altogether? So I got that keyword altogether. So I'm going to combine both with addition. So we're going to do 238 plus 319. Oops. Okay, so I've got 8 plus 9, which is 17. I carry my 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. And then 2 plus 3 is 5. So altogether, they would have had 557 stars. Now, like I said, I'm going to put this on Dojo, and you are going to be responsible for the final question. You can work on it at your own pace. It said Miss Tillery bought her class 1,419 stickers. Miss Thompson bought her class 382 stickers. How many more stickers did Miss Tillery buy than Miss Thompson? And we've talked about before in class, guys, often when we hear that phrase, how many more, we're subtracting, because it wouldn't make sense. If I were to add these two numbers together, I would get like 1,700 some. That doesn't make any sense. How could Miss Tillery have 1,700 more stickers than Miss Thompson when Miss Tillery only started with 1,419 stickers? So for this one, when it asks how many more, it's wanting me to subtract. Remember, when we subtract, I'm going to help you set it up. You need to write those numbers with the larger number first. Okay, so I got my problem set up. Remember that phrase, bigger, since we're subtracting. Bottom, borrow. You need to go through, circle where your bigger numbers are before you start subtracting so you can kind of visualize if you're going to be borrowing. Go ahead and take your time, work that out. You can have a parent help you to check, or if you remember, we can use our addition to check, just like we did earlier. When we did 100 minus 67, to check my answer, I take what I subtracted and the difference, and I can add them up. And that answer I get here should match the whole I was subtracting from. So I will post this worksheet onto Dojo. It is optional. If you can't make it next week to the live class, just hop back on here and there will be some videos for you. Bye, guys.